So we've got a special guest expert today. Mike Optigan is with us today from Gecko. They are a digital marketing agency. I'll let Mike give his little introduction in a second, but we'll just let people sort of jump on as we've gone live on LinkedIn while you're all settling down with your cup of tea or your bun with your lunch. Or up north, you say like you're a Mancunian, aren't you? So I bet you eat balm cakes.
Chip balms. Yeah, or muffin,
Yeah,
chip balm.
yeah.
Depends where you are in the Northwest. It
I
kind of
know, I
changes.
know. But we're not going to explain what a balm is, but look it up. That's what the internet is for. As usual, these sessions are bite-sized, so they'll last no longer than half an hour. We will be done by 1 o'clock. Like I said, we'll have a little introduction and then we'll dive in to how we can make your website or how you can make your website work harder for you. Mike is the website expert, if you like. I've known Mike now for a long time. He's a top man. I'm looking forward to today's session intently. It's going to be lots of great chat. We had a little chat before we started, and Mike has paid no attention to my presentation skills course that I did a few months ago because look, he is prepared, but we're going to do it in a sort of a conversation-y style. So let's see how that goes. But we're going to run through three main points that are really going to give you those sort of top tips to help you get your website in order. Mike, your company Gecko, it's based in Edinburgh. Why don't you just give people a little bit of a flavour about what it is you specialise in?
Of course. Okay, so I'm co-founder of an agency called Gecko, which was founded in Edinburgh way back in 2003, born out of the dot-com boom, or bust, should I say. And we've been basically helping businesses from various sizes for the past 19 years make sense of the web, whether that's to grow their business, whether that's to service their clients better, and just for ourselves trying to be ahead of the curve, kind of dodge the fads, keep an eye on the trends, and help our clients through the process. And that's from SMEs to charities to all sorts. It's kind of a sweet spot from us, I suppose, really, is for marketers or businesses who are B2B, who've got kind of a complex kind of life cycle or a longer life cycle, which is probably this is pertinent for what we're talking about, making your website work harder for yourself. I'm hoping this will give a lens, at least, to anybody who's listening to look at their own website and to see where those kind of gaps may be. And I'm kind of taking the task as if I'm speaking to a friend, i.e., there's no sales pitch here. It's just if you want to do this, if you want to do this right, what are kind of the core things? What are the least you can do? Kind of the lazy person's school of content marketing, I guess.
Do you think we'd have had 73 people say they're going to attend if we'd said the lazy? Maybe we'd have had more if we'd said the lazy approach to building
it's something that compels me, because let's face it, we've been asked to do it on a daily basis. If you're running a business or a marketing department, you're asking more to do to get more out of your budgets, more out of your time. The time element, I think, is really important, because that's the one thing you can't make more of. And where your efforts are going to be on any day-to-day basis, you want to make sure you're making the boat go faster. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, because I'm the same. I don't even have time to prepare for this. So, I'm just relying on my 19 years of doing the job, and hopefully it'll make sense for folk listening.
Well,
so
we're going to find out in 25 minutes, Mike, if it all did make sense. Now, if you do have any questions for Mike or myself, please pop them in the chat underneath where you're watching now on LinkedIn Live. We have had a couple of questions sent in advance, but please get involved, get your questions in. And because Mike is here, I do have the ability to have a look at the chat and bring them up. So I'll answer the questions at the end if that's all right with you, but getting them in advance, because there is a slight lag between you inputting them on LinkedIn and them popping through on our system here. Right, Mike, I'm going to introduce the very first topic and let you give your introduction to that, and then we'll sit back and chew the fat on it.
Okay, tip one. It's not all about you. This used to be a bugbear of mine quite a long time, just going through managing web projects. And what you find with a website project working with a company, it's invariably the first time departments kind of get together and talk about exactly what it is they're doing. And they will have their own kind of mindset of who the customer is and what they bring to the table. And that usually manifests itself as we do this and we do it for these folk and we. Which, if you consider if this was a date and you sat down and you were speaking to somebody and all they spoke about was themselves, without even asking you a question or trying to dig in around, where you're from, what situation you're in, it would be not a great date, I suppose. So for me, this is like a really quick acid test for anybody out there who's got a website to make sure if they have a look at their core pages, their core homepage, read the copy out loud. And if you're finding that it's not really compelling or it's really a bit too much about yourselves as opposed to the problems that your potential clients or target would have or what they're trying to what their ambitions are, then it's probably a little red flag to look at your content in terms of there's some work to be done. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the element of that and kind of what the process would normally be is the value proposition. What is it you do as a business? This is the thing that you're doing, the sector that you're in, the service that you offer. But you have to put it in context of why that's important, why your audience or your client should be interested. Now, if we're kind of working through what the value proposition would be, kind of break it down into three elements, really, is what are the pains? What are the things that really kind of maybe objections or the elements that they're struggling with, or things that kind of would literally just be a pain of that maybe their issue that they're trying to solve, or maybe a pain with dealing with the likes of you. Like, why is it we go to web designers and they always talk techie, or why do they always do this, or every time we're trying to buy a website service, it all looks the same, but you can get one for £500 or 50 grand. I don't get it. So from that would be a leading the conversations that if that is pertinent for us, then you'd be looking for content that would actually help people even within the buying process. Not to buy from you, but just understanding that in our sector, it may be a little bit muddy in terms of clients being able to buy our services as an industry. So that would be like a tip back saying, well, why don't we be the guys to help people define what that is? What kind of tools could they have? What kind of questions could they be armed with? And that's kind of content you could focus on there. So that'd be something to look at the objections. And the same with their gains, what they're looking to achieve. What is the outcome? What's the positive outcomes that they're wanting to aspire to? And again, they can kind of break out into other areas where it could be just a case of, I just want somebody, a plumber who will come to my house when he says he will. It's going to be clean. It's going to be a fair price. And it's someone who I can trust. There's certain elements there. This is what I want. So then again, you're looking at content that would be allaying those fears, I suppose.
I think, Mike, with this, certainly people that offer personal services, and I'd put my hand up to this. When I first designed my website, I got really wrapped up with having to explain all about, and my website still is, hands up, all about me. That's just how it is, but that will be changing. But you think that that's what people want to know when actually they're visiting your website because they're searching for something, right? Yes, you are a part of that, and yes, they want to understand if you can offer those things, but they're not. Their first thing is they're not interested in you. Well, no one's interested in me.
Yeah, it's almost kind of that content is kind of further down the chain. Someone once told me about, if you're down for a wee on the motorway, all you're looking for is a sign for the services. That's all you're interested in. Then you see the sign for the services and you hastily go in, you find parking, you get there. You're not interested in the donuts in the window or the magazines or anything else. You just want the gent
The
sign.
facilities. How did we
That's
get
it.
here?
I don't
We're
know.
talking about toilets already.
Is this a book about 10 years ago about calls to action? And that's I'm just going to go with it. But that's kind of what they were saying, is that was the need. That's the immediate need. Once that has been addressed, then you're going to go for a coffee. Then you're going to sit down. Then you're going to mill around that. That's when you can get the attention. So in the same way is kind of really focusing on what that need is, why people are coming to you, what kind of scenarios they could be in, which is obviously linked to your services. And from that point of view, then you take them through the homepage or article, wherever that is, because you kind of learned some information. The very fact that you click from one area of your site to the next, and I'll talk about this around the site structure, that's actually giving you some insights in terms of, right, okay, if this person is here and now they're here, here's what we need to be talking about. And if they're here further down the chain, or they're looking at other areas of the page, that's when you're talking about the credibility, the case studies, the problems you've solved for other clients. So that's kind of the social proof. Once you're in the mind that you can solve my problem, or at least you say you do. I feel that this is the right company to reach out to. But that on that is, well, how can I trust you? Ultimately, that's exactly what it is. So those trust factor content pieces, they sit in a little bit further away, easily accessible, of course, but it's not what you lead in with.
Yeah. So I guess we're saying to people, look at your website critically and try and put yourself in the eyes of the visitor rather than in your own shoes, trying to.
I think it is, because the services that you offer, they're solving problems for your clients. So be more explicit about the problems that you're solving.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, because right across the board, all the services that if you're a website designer, there's going to be a set of services that you actually offer, like every other website designer. That's not differentiating what it is. It's that kind of connection with, actually, you get me, I have this problem, and actually this actually does happen. So that's, I would say, is the first instance from that. It's not about you. That lens to look at your site, review your site, go to your core pages, whatever that is. And if you find it's talking a little bit too much about what you do as a service in like old school brochure sense, then there's an opportunity there to review that and just turn that around, be a little bit more kind of focused on the actual problems your clients are trying to solve, and then see how you can play with the headlines, play with the copy, or whatever that is.
I think this leads us very nicely on to tip number 2, Mike.
It does.
I'm going to say to you, if you could nudge yourself over to your left a little bit, you're going to fit in the shot nicely.
That way?
There we are. We like to see your face.
There
so tip number 2 is answer the questions. Explain that a bit more, Mike.
Right. So we've kind of talked about, it's not about we, it's more about the actual clients, their problems that you're trying to solve, and how you're relevant, which all connects to obviously the service that you do, whatever size company you are. So how do you actually kind of break that down? Because I want to say it's content is king, and it's absolutely right. It's the currency that we use to help our clients, whether that is kind of video, whether that's the podcast, the full array of formats that are there that is relevant to whoever wants to consume your content. Now, as a business website, I would look at kind of probably 4 to 5 kind of core things, and the rest you can just park to one side. Obviously, the homepage, your evergreen, as a kind of, I call it, but there's evergreen content. That's your services; they don't change. Then there's the actual resourceful information, like your posts, where people talk about blog, or it could be articles, but it's kind of information that gives you way more freedom. It's invariably what happens when you're talking about your SEO ambitions. And again, this is coming back to the questions that you're trying to solve, which then gives you the base from what content you should be writing in the first place. And most people miss this, is invariably at some point you're going to be doing some paid search. It's a pay to play game even more than ever. So if you have a strategy for SEO, which is the ultimate, because you're kind of building over time a content annuity, which will give you authority over time, which is exactly what you want, because then you reap the benefits of that. But you're not going to ignore the fact that you're going to have to pay to play as well. So if you're doing some Google ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads that are coming back to your site. The best thing to do, and the amount of time we don't see this, is having a specific landing page around that offer, around that service that you're paying people to click to. Google checks whether your ads are relevant, and it will reward you by lower cost per acquisition. It will also kind of show your ad more frequently, because if you think about it, Google wants to serve their viewers, their visitors. So if they're guiding them to relevant websites, then that's a win. And that's ultimately all you're doing from SEO point of view. And that's what Google is rewarding, is the fact that people keep on using Google, people keep on using Chrome, because at the end of that, they're getting to something that they want. And it's your job as a business to look at your site and your content to be that. And that's probably what the core of most SEO strategies is about. So first things first, the homepage. If we've done, say, the value proposition, what it is you do as a business and how is it relevant and how it's helping with your clients' pains, gains, and tasks that they need to do, then you can look at your homepage in a slightly different way as opposed to services that you do and its problems that you solve. Now, the other benefit of that is that, one, in terms of your homepage being a bit of a gateway, it's giving you insights in your Google Analytics in terms of, right, okay, well, out of all the traffic that's come to our site, 30% have kind of gone through this way, 10% have gone there, 3% have gone in the other way. So for now, you're gaining insights just by rejigging your homepage that will actually not only make it easier for people to find what they want, but once they go to the secondary page content, then that allows you to understand exactly the problems they have, so you can actually create the content. Kind of losing my train of thought now. For the evergreen content or the landing, the posts. That's it. I really need to turn my Slack off during these things, but anyway.
Yeah, I've had to turn my emails off to make sure.
That's it. So that's it. So the homepage, in terms of, it should be a gateway. People look at it as a shop window, but really, it's for you. It's trying to define exactly, well, why have you come to the site? So once they've gone to the homepage, wherever they go next, you want to find out, okay, we've learned something. As opposed, what most cases happen is that they've come to your homepage, then they've gone to About Us and Contact. It's usually they've probably not found the content in the site. It's not a case that they've landed on your homepage and, wow, you're the guys for us, I'm going to contact you straight away. It's usually they can't find what they're looking for. So the easiest thing would be possibly to call. Now, you might think that's great. We want people to call. But that's usually the flip side of when you're actually doing SEO and generating traffic to your site. You also get a lot of irrelevant content. So that can be, again, in terms of qualification of people who come to the site for lead generation, you also need to think about qualification. So that's something that I'll talk about in a second in terms of the automation piece. So how do you do it? Well, just go through your business. What are people answering on the phone? What is your sales team talking about most of the time? Within the business, where are I was kind of say try and find the geeks. There's always in the department someone who is the go-to, the oracle. They've been there the longest. They just know your services inside out. They're the people to get involved when we're looking for content ideas. It's not just the business owner. It's
the key noisemaker, right?
It's the key noisemaker. Everyone's got them. And then the second thing there's, but they can't write articles. They don't need to. That's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, just have a conversation. Just say, listen, I'm just going to record it. And that's probably the best way to do it, because that's the thing. Where people say, oh, do some video content, people might, and I've seen it many times where I'd speak to clients in the meeting room and you think, God, this guy's good. He's passionate about what he talks about. He's got real depth of knowledge of what he's doing. Just add a camera, freezes. It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? So by any means necessary that you can just, from even a recording point of view, just have a natural conversation about, on a day-to-day basis, what is it you find our clients repeatedly asking for? What are their kind of main core problems? And that, if anything, is just an anchor to say, oh, right, okay, well, that's interesting because we've actually got content in the business about that, or that's on our website. So
Yeah.
did you know that was there? So it's kind of investigating from that kind of geek element, dare I say it, which is the kernel where you can actually start building out content from various topics that are relevant to the services you offer.
I think one that's really, really common is how much does X cost, right? And a lot of people that I speak to, especially in professional services, or they offer a product which is multifaceted, so it depends how many bolt-ons you want in terms of how much things cost. And they're always very negative about, well, I can't possibly write a blog about how much it costs because how long's a piece of string, Miles? And I would say, look, this is what people are searching for. They're searching for how much does X cost. So write articles that are titled in that way, but write them in an honest way. It's okay to talk about the fact that we can't give you an absolute accurate figure now, but in our experience, across all of the people we deal with, on average, for the average, it costs this, right? Yeah. And all you're doing is putting something out there that they find it. And if people aren't finding those answers within your sphere, or within your competitors, they're on your page, they're on your blog, right? They're more likely then to engage with you.
100%. And the fact is, if you think about it, there's people who have concerns about the cost of a particular service. So say it's a law firm, and there might be an anxiety there in terms of, well, how much does it cost to see a lawyer, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the very fact that you can talk in ranges for a start.
Yep.
But you're addressing that question. Now, that's somebody who's obviously quite a warm lead to engage with some lawyer services because they're already at that point in terms of comparison and trying to find out prices. You could then even look at that and say, well, actually, it's not really a price thing because we're not really kind of, apples for apples. Okay, that's fine. Well, there's some content in terms of, well, if you might be looking at price to select a law firm, then that might be the wrong tack to take. Here's other factors that you need to be asking yourself when engaging with a law firm.
You're stamping your authority then on the fact that you're very knowledgeable. Yeah. And it's not just all about the money.
Exactly.
Mike, I think this is going to lead. I'm going to have to push us on, as they say. We've got 7 minutes left to our third point, and it pushes us on nicely, actually, to the automation and the call to action. And again, that's it. You're doing it well.
Getting into it now. Right, automation and CTAs. I think we've got this down. Automation is a huge topic, as you well know, and there's some amazing platforms out there, from Marketo to HubSpot. Even Calendly's got some fantastic automation. However, I pull that right back. I think really it's almost about being automation ready and understanding, well, at its very least, what is the piece that I know I can automate that's not going to give me a false sense of security that I've got this all figured out and my leads are coming in and they're going to the right place. Now, what I mean by that is that if we look at, again, reiteration of the value proposition of who you are, what you stand for, which is connected to your clients' pains, gains, tasks that they need to do. There's your service content, which would address probably like the core things, which would be why the problem exists, what you can do about it, and why it exists, what the problem is, why it exists, what you can do about it, and what life after that has been done looks like. That's kind of your service page is done. Your call to action then is literally what to do next. It's as simple as that. Now, that's where you're leading into your kind of micro offer. And more importantly, kind of qualification, because we kind of get a lot of this where you've done all the work, the traffic's coming to the site, you've got your leads, and that's amazing. But then you get to a point where clients might say, well, that's amazing, but I'm getting quite a lot of spam, or I'm getting kind of the wrong type of clients that are coming through. And I'm having conversations which are kind of wasting my time now. So be careful what you wish for. I have traffic, the phone's ringing, but it's not quite the right element. There's a few things that could be. That could be the actual design, the value proposition is collectively giving a false impression of, say, the price point. So you're probably getting people, well, actually, we're getting folk who think we're cheaper than what we are, or we're not as strategic as we could possibly be. So that could be a content gap on your site that you would need to review. Quick fix for that would be qualification within your form. So it's a case of talk budgets. You mentioned budgets. Is there a minimum cost to play, so to speak? So someone's there saying, for instance, for a website, so there you go. Okay, that's fine. If we get someone coming to our website and say, "Oh, we've got £500, £1,000 for a website," well, obviously they're not for us. Plenty of Squarespaces and Wix and things like that you can go to, but that's not really what we're there for. In fact, it's not even websites. It's more about helping people get to realize their kind of business ambition. But any service that you have, you know exactly who the right customer is and who the wrong one is. So look at your forms. And here's a bit of a misnomer. People say, "Oh, too many form fields," actually means people won't fill them out. At that point, in terms of CTA for a natural lead, that's exactly what you want. You want people to think, "You've actually are the person I need. You've actually resonate my problem." The very fact that you want them to think about it and fill out a form, which isn't just a case of just click. And you see a lot of this, say, with setting up meetings in Calendly, kind of automated that way. And it's an element where you need to ask more questions. You need to go a little bit depth. So you kind of qualifying the fact that if you give a little bit of effort, then you're probably a more solid lead than someone just went, "Yeah, I'll have a chat," and then just basically fill up your diary with no shows.
Yeah, and I think Mike, that comes down to sort of, again, more content creation, right? So that I don't think these days you can create too much content. In terms of establishing yourself as you know what you're doing, but also to give the tools to your workers or maybe your sales guys to be able to answer all of these questions that people have on the regular basis. Being able to sort of say, "Look, before we chat tomorrow, can you please review this document or this video, because it answers a lot of the questions we get asked all the time, and it means we're going to have a much more meaningful meeting when we do." Or here's one for you. Like, the automation part's important because people don't like talking to people anymore, right? They want they don't want to talk to humans. They want to actually be able to find what they want without having to speak to anyone. So making things easily available on your website. Maybe if you've got a Calendly link, make sure that it's prominent and not like tucked away, right? Because
yeah, I think it's just being aware of the different scenarios why people are coming to your site. Because if you've done your research, if you've done the comparison, and you're a repeat visitor, then maybe I just do want to call somebody now. Like, I've had enough. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Or the chat bots that you have. Sometimes it can freak you out a bit. I've literally just landed on your homepage, and now someone's going, "Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?" It's like, all right, hang on.
And the ones where you go to click off the browser and it knows and it says, "Oh, did you find what you're looking for?"
100%. I always find them a bit freaky. I think the placement of them should be in parts of the site that, as I've said, if you plot where your content should be, you kind of got more of an idea that somebody's interested. Like, not on your homepage.
Being tactical about it. Mike, we're running out of time. I mean,
it's quick.
It's quick, isn't it? Eh? So I'm just gonna do a quick summary for folks. And that is tip number 1. It's not all about you. So go back, review your website, have a look and see how it's phrased and who it's appealing to. Tip number 2, are you answering the questions that your customers are asking? And be quite sort of critical about this with yourself. Ask your team if you need any ideas about what the frequently asked questions around your business is. And tip number 3, think about the automation of your site and think about the calls to action, especially if you've got a pay-per-click campaign and you've got a landing page. Make sure that it's absolutely crystal clear.
With no navigation, by the way. I forgot to say that.
Sorry, Mike?
With no other navigation.
Yes.
That's the whole point. One call to action.
Yes.
No navigation.
Yes. No
To
navigation.
support
no
your
way.
paid campaigns.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, this has been fantastic. I